G'day and welcome to another big week of the GameFace SFNL Division 2 footy show. Will Hunter's my name and Chris Thompson sitting alongside me. No Robbo today, he's back at Channel 10 doing some of that top secret business he alluded to.
He's gone through to the second round of Married at First Sight.
And good on him too. He's certainly a catch for any eligible ladies out there. So a big week in footy, Tomo. Great to have you along as always.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, good to be here. I'll just pre-warning, I'm not here on Monday next week too. I've got a trip for work, so if we win or lose this week, it's not. If I miss it, it's not because we've lost it. But I'm letting you know early. Yeah.
No, you got in early. I was just about to say, obviously the Districts boys had a win, so good to have Tomo in. Some big stories this week. Bina celebrated their NAIDOC week in style. A big day down there at the Bina Arena. We'll talk to you about that. A Sky champion notches 200 games. A big thriller between the Hammers and the Borough. They're turning it into a little bit of a rivalry, Tomo, those two sides. The finals venues, they were announced during the week, and a coach re-signs at one of the clubs. So plenty to sink our teeth into. But before we go any further, let's check out all the weekend's highlights with a GameFace app update. G'day guys. Well, it was a cracking weekend of SFNL footy, and if you weren't checking out the GameFace record app this week, you missed a ton of stuff. In Division 2, and Hampton pushed Keysborough all the way in a low-scoring nail-biter. There was not much in it in the tough conditions, but the Borough again overcame an early deficit to take the spoils. These two sides are making a habit of some close encounters. Murrumbina celebrated NAIDOC week with a dominant 41-point victory over Heatherton, while Caulfield continued their good form to dispatch East Brighton. Springy and Doveton Eagles were also rarely troubled in their victories over Skye and Chelsea Heights respectively. All of the senior winners also claimed the points in the twos, with the Bears celebrating just their second victory of the season. Well done to them. Springy Districts remain out in front in both ladders, as you can see, with Keysborough and Doveton Eagles breathing down their necks in the seniors and reserves respectively. Now guys, remember, there's plenty more to see on the GameFace record app, including all the live scores, latest news headlines, post-game interviews, goal-kicking leaderboards, and the weekly top 10 player rankings, which is always a great topic of conversation, with all divisions of footy and netball covered. So make sure you get involved with that by downloading the GameFace record app for free from the App Store or Google Play. Get your GameFace on. Nice work, Wilbur, if I do say so myself.
How does it feel thrown to yourself and then coming back to yourself?
Look,
doing your Jane bun.
Look, to be honest with you, hanging out with Robbo as often as we do has made me feel a little bit more comfortable with it. So
talking about yourself and how
yeah. I never used to do it as much until I sat next to Robbo for a couple of hours every Monday. But you know what? It's not necessarily a bad thing for the old self-esteem.
Yeah. I've got a bone to pick with Robbo actually.
Yeah, what's that about?
He plays us twice this year in the seniors. Kicks 11 goals in 2 games, and plays in the thirds on the weekend out at Dingley. Didn't kick a goal.
He played out in the thirds.
Apparently, yeah. From what I see online.
Yeah, I saw his name listed, but
no goals and didn't get in the best either. Probably not good, not great.
No, lift your game, Robbo. If you're playing thirds, I expected you to dominate at that level, and yeah, obviously that's not happening. Hey, finals. That's obviously a big topic of contention. The league announced the finals venues for season 2019, and Cheltenham is where it'll be at for Division 2.
Probably as expected, Wilbur. I haven't been out there for a while now. Yeah, I don't know who would that suit. It's probably not a huge ground. It's fairly wide from what I remember, and but probably not as long as probably others.
Definitely not as lengthy as your Keysboroughs, your Springy Districts, and your Doveton Eagles. And we saw last year Doveton came a little bit unstuck on the on that shorter ground. Height beat them on their deck, which as well isn't overly long either.
Yeah.
So a side like Height really sort of came into it on grand final day, and admittedly the conditions weren't that great for footy, so it sort of brought the prime moves of Doveton sort of back down to Heights level. So I think if I was to look at a side that would look at that ground and really do some damage on it, I reckon probably a Murrumbina would be the ones that'd be licking their lips the most. Yeah. But that's not to say that any other side couldn't win on that ground, because if you're a good enough side, you can win anywhere.
Yeah.
Is that the attitude that you take looking into it?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It is what it is. You put a play on away grounds every week, and that won't be an issue for. Honestly, Doveton, Springy, and Keysy play on big grounds, but we've won out at Murrumbina, which is probably the most similar ground I reckon to Chell.
Yeah, very close. So, be an interesting an interesting final series, that's for sure. So remains to be seen how that transpires. Obviously, the top five, I should say, locked in. A 4-game break between 5th and 6th. Not ideal for the competition, but at least we know the sides will be playing in it, I think, and they can really set themselves and work towards that first final.
I reckon that gap doesn't quite do justice of the season that Caulfield's having. I reckon, especially the back half that's coming into the last few weeks, they've been the big improver. So I reckon that gap isn't as big as what it shows on the ladder.
And we spoke about it last week about Caulfield. They had a bit of a slow start, obviously, with the new coach Chris O'Keefe coming in, and taking them a while to sort of learn the structures under a new coach, which always sort of takes a bit of time. But you're right, they're sort of coming together and getting a few players back from injury, which is really helpful.
Definitely, with coaches coming in, he's played a lot of higher level than this. He's played VFL footy and that Western Region footy. He's going to have structures, like genuine structures, where you hear that word thrown around a long time, stick to these structures or whatever, and a lot of sides just use that as a word. They don't really play structured footy. Whereas you can see what Chris O'Keefe's brought in, they're starting to play some really good structured footy, and it takes a while. It even took us a couple of pre-seasons to really master our structures and our game plan, and you can see the good things happening down there under him.
100%. And as you say, a lot of clubs just sort of use that as a bit of a throwaway line. They hear it on telly, they want to be like the AFL, so they throw it out. But coaches like him, they put a fair bit of effort into it. And speaking of Chris O'Keefe, news coming through this afternoon that he has officially re-signed for season 2020. So congratulations to the Cockroach there. It's a massive boon for the Caulfield Footy Club. He's been doing some tremendous things down there in season 2019, and that'll certainly continue next year, which is fantastic for the club.
Well done to them, getting on the front foot early, and obviously they're on to a winner, so locked away, that's great.
Let's move on to Murrumbeena. They had a fantastic day on the weekend there, Tomo. They celebrated NAIDOC Week, which is obviously pretty important. They've got a few Indigenous players down there, and the club put in a mountain of work to get this day off the ground. 4 games, it was a massive day. Senior women's, reserves, women's, seniors and men's as well. Seniors and reserves men's, I should say. 3 out of the 4 games, they got the chocolates, and a tremendous function. Glenn James, the guest speaker there, told some funny yarns from yesteryear. The only Indigenous AFL VFL umpire who's an absolute star. And the artwork that was on display from with contributions from the King, James, and the Saunders families. It was a fantastic exhibition of, Indigenous culture, and well done to the Murrumbeena Footy Club for putting that on.
Yeah, didn't the jumpers look good? They looked unreal.
Unbelievable. They looked better obviously before the game as opposed to after it. The ground wasn't in great nick. But speaking of the jumpers, they auctioned off a signed jumper. Sean Burgoyne's young fella plays down at Murrumbeena Juniors, and he's come down and signed a number 7 Indigenous round jumper for the club. Went for $500.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Why did he not sign number 7 jumper?
Doesn't Burgoyne wear number 7?
No, he wears number 9. But
well, there you go.
I wonder why.
Maybe they had one left over. So we signed the number 7 jumper, and they auctioned that off. The Sean Burgoyne signed jumper went for $500.
Yeah, good.
Which was then donated back, which is absolutely tremendous. And that $500 goes to outside the locker room, which you spoke of last week. They do some fantastic stuff. So to the Murrumbeena Footy Netball Club, can't commend you enough on the work that you're doing. It's absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, good stuff from Beena. You were at the game. What's on field? What was it like?
Look, I think Murrumbeena were just a class above Heatherton in all facets. They've got some sensational players in that side. Don't worry about that. And guys like Jamie Hackett, absolute star, and Matty Lello. Espinoza, we got amongst it. Wade King, he's just a class act with ball in hand. And I was really impressed by Josh Smith as well, who's played a fair bit of reserves footy over the last couple of years, and he's come in for his 2nd senior game of the year. And he had an outstanding game, both up forward and pinch hitting in the ruck. So, I was really impressed by what he brought to the table. A couple of classy goals as well for Smitty. And
I noticed Luke James, no goals. Was he injured or was he just held well? Or?
No, I think he rolled his ankle towards the back end of the game, and nothing major. They just decided to, they had the game well in their keeping, just take him off and rest him up for the following week. So there was nothing nothing too serious in that. It wasn't the only one. I think Matt Nandor had a bit of a finger injury, and again they just put him in cotton wool because you don't want to risk your players when you're that far in front. But speaking of good players, we had the SPT tracker on that day. We gave it to Jamie Hackett, who's been in some tremendous form this season, Tomo, and Lincoln Edmonds caught up with him before the game for a bit of a chat, and this is what he had to say.
G'day guys, Lincoln here from GameFace down at Murrumbeena for the big clash between Murrumbeena and Heverton. With me today is Jamie Hackett. Jamie's going to be wearing the SPT Sports Performance Tracking Tracker today. Ever worn one of the GPS trackers before?
I have, yes. I've worn a couple back in Queensland.
So you're pretty familiar with these sort of gadgets. What can we expect from you today?
I'd like to say around 14, but that was probably back in my younger prime days. So, maybe, 12, let's say.
What sort of speeds can we expect from you, or is it more covering the ground for you today?
I think slow, sort of three-quarter pace type stuff today, yeah.
And obviously it looks a bit gloomy out here today, rain threatening. Do you think that might have an effect on your ability to cover the ground?
Definitely, yeah. I think it might be a little bit scrappy. It might make me run a little bit less today, yeah. A
big clash today against Heverton, of course. NAIDOC round, and you've got the special jumpers. Good occasion for it?
Great day for the club, yeah. It makes us pretty proud that we host something like this.
Obviously in the top four, pretty good form. How are you seeing the season so far?
It's been very close up in the top four, and now we're seeing Hampton obviously just on the outside coming in as well, playing really good footy, and also Caulfield have improved out of a lot in the last few weeks.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Well, Jamie, all the best out there today, and we look forward to seeing your numbers later on.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yes, well done there, Lincoln. And let's have a look at some of Jamie Hackett's stats there. Over 11 kilometres total distance run, which, on a heavy 10, the conditions were bloody ordinary on the day. It's not a bad effort. There would have been a few sore muscles, I think, in the aftermatch.
Yeah, I reckon all those stats reflective probably the conditions. 733 metres of hard running. It's probably not heaps, but he's clocked up. He's travelling around the ground pretty well. So.
Yeah, and I think the top speed of 25.96, 26 we'll call it. Again, reflective not of him, but of the really heavy track. There was a lot of mud around.
You calling him slow?
No, I'm saying that.
What were when you played in the thirds at St Paul's last week? What was your top speed on the tracker?
Probably about 10, I would have thought.
10?
Yeah, mate, I'm not match fit anymore, but to be fair, that's that the ground did him no favours there. So on a dry day, I expect to see some massive improvement there for Jamie Hackett. And if you have a look at his heat map as well, we just skip forward to the heat map. A lot of that was sort of around about the middle of the ground where there was a lot of heavy mud. So. While the numbers don't necessarily show it, he worked his absolute coit off that day, and it was a remarkable effort in the conditions. So, Jamie, well done to you. Absolute start.
So on that heat map, he's covered a fair whack of the ground. I'll tell you a quick story. We're playing a game out at Frankston Park 3 or 4 years ago, and we had one of our players with the SPT tracker on. And we got home, and as his line coach, he'd jump online and see what everyone's travelled and all the rest of it. And he'd done 45k, and we thought, geez,
not a bad effort.
How's he done 45k? So I clicked onto the heat map and showed him running. He travelled all around the ground, and then he saw the heat map. It went over to the change rooms, then it went out to the car park, and then it went out the gate. And away he went. He lived in Mornington or something like that, so he's left it on and he's driven home. And he's claimed that he's run 45k.
Top speed of 100,
yeah,
I reckon.
110 down the Murrumbeena Freeway.
Very good. And very well done to Sports Performance Tracking. They are the performance analytics tool that will give you the edge over the competition. So if you want to see how your players are tracking and get the best out of them, make sure you get in contact with Sports Performance Tracking. Okay, Tomo, over at your game on the weekend, there was a big milestone for one of the favourites down at Sky Footy Club.
Yeah, Tim Barr clocked up his 200th game for Sky. Fourth player in the history of the club to do so in the second this year. So he's a premiership player. Player there, which they've got their 10-year reunion, I'm told, on Saturday against Murrumbeena. So he's still playing. So anyone who's still playing when their reunion's happening is a great effort. So
100%.
And he played well on the weekend too. So well done to Barry.
And I don't think he was the only one to have a milestone that day either, Tomo.
Yeah.
Jared Caradias, 150.
Caradias played 150 too, and Cam McLeod for spring, he played his 100th. So, 3 milestones for the day. It was good.
Happy days, and well done to you three gentlemen. So, big day down at the Springy Districts. Hampton and Keysborough, they played out another thriller, low scoring though it may have been, but it's the second consecutive game between these two sides. It was really, really close.
Yep. Yeah, I think Hampton are going really well. They've had some players come back from injury, and they've had some recruits mid-season as well. So they're going to get a scalp. I know they're in the top 5. They're going to beat a team that's ahead of them in the top 4. I'm very sure of that.
Yep.
We play them this week, so we've got to make sure it's not us.
Yep.
But, you know, maybe in a final or, they're very capable of beating one of those top 4 sides.
A huge test for them this week, obviously. Do you think this game, and, you know, take the weather out of it, which, you know, ruined the game for a lot of games around Melbourne, do you think they're maybe more of a bogey side of Keezy, or do you reckon they're a genuine flag chance?
No, I wouldn't say they're a bogey side of Keezy. Obviously, the conditions made all the games really low scoring. But they're a genuine team. They are a genuine threat. Whether they can win enough games in a row to win it from 5th is a big ask.
Yep.
But they can definitely beat one of those top 4 sides on the day. Dry weather, wet weather, whatever.
Yep.
Definitely.
And they're another side that would probably benefit from the, I guess, smaller confines of Jack Barker Oval come finals time. So they might be one to watch. And hopefully we can get Lou Roberts on the show next week, which should hopefully be really, really good. Again, Keezy coming from behind in that game. So I think they've really got to work on their slow starts if they really want to push for the premiership. Alrighty, moving on to the part of the show that everyone sort of stays up to watch, the Swivs Locker Division 2 Team of the Week. I know you've poured a fair bit of effort into it, Tomo. So we'll kick it off with the back line. Michael Downey from Keysborough, Blake Cochran from East Brighton, and your man Craig Keenan from Springy District. Solid.
Crackers Keenan. Yeah, no, he's in good form. Career best form, some might say. He's doing really well down there. Halfbacks, talking about career best form, the Donk Monaghan was best on ground again. So he keeps telling everyone. Matty Lalo is a lock in that position for the Team of the Year, and you just about leave him in there every week no matter what. So consistent. And Andrew Hunter from Hampton was best on for them as well.
Very good. I reckon Matty Lalo was probably best on as well. He was sensational. The centre line, Aaron Coffey from Heatherton, he was... I would probably have him in my top 3 or 4 on the day, even though they got beaten very convincingly. He was absolutely outstanding. Jamie Hackett from Murrumbina, we had a look at his stats, but his work rate was absolutely outstanding.
He's really a lock for that centre position or midfield position, Team of the Year, you would have thought.
I think so too. And Timmy Werner from Keezy as well had a pretty handy game on the weekend.
Yep, half forwards Mitchell Potts, centre forward big Adam Reid. I called him, what did I call him? I called him Matty Reid the other week, and he wasn't happy with that. So Adam Reid from Dulverton, 6 or 5 goals, I think. And Eddie Espinoza from Bena, half forward.
He's a clever little player, is Eddie, and Mitch Potts was one of the big recruits for Caulfield in the pre-season, and unfortunately through injury hasn't been able to play too many games, but fantastic to see him out there and playing some good footy. In the forward line, Marcus Lavender from East Brighton, Matty Wettering, Scootsy from Springy Districts out of the goal square, and Matty Brown from Caulfield, another 4 goals on the weekend.
Yeah.
He's having a handy debut season down there at the Bear Cave.
Yep. I think the last couple of weeks he spent some more time forward rather than midfield, so he gives them that extra goal-kicking option down forward. I don't mind it, as long as they're not losing too much out of the midfield when they take him out, which they haven't been with guys like Buggy, who we're about to talk about, playing such good footy. Rucks, Cam Carmody, Dulverton, Jake Buggy and Nick Battle back in the side after a few weeks out.
He's an absolute star, Nick Battle, and to be honest, I'm getting a little bit sick of all these comments I see on Facebook that Jakey Buggy must be on the GameFace payroll, but so often is he in the Team of the Week, but he's in tremendous form. Don't worry about that. He's one of the best
players in the comp, and he's consistent, and that's why he's always in there.
100%, couldn't agree more.
And he slips a 50 every now and then.
Oh, that's always handy, and Buggy, if you want to keep your spot. Only joking. And rounding out the interchange bench, Joel McConville from Skye, Guy Timms from Hampton, and Zach Casaviello. Is that how we say it?
I don't know. I'll leave that one with you.
From Chelsea Heights, and Josh Smith from Murrumbina, who we spoke about earlier in the show. Great to see him back in the senior side and playing some good footy. Alrighty, round 14 is just about upon us. Let's have a look at the tips thanks to Mel Safe. Hampton and Springvale. Probably the match of the round for mine, Tomo.
Match of the round? Yeah, what about Dulverton and Keezy?
I reckon the Hampton and Spring is probably my pick for match of the round, I would say. We'll get to Dulverton and Keezy in a minute, but I think Hampton, if they had to showcase their premiership credentials and they want to mark themselves down as a premiership threat, this is a big game for them. And Probably a danger game for you in many respects, I guess, as well.
Yeah, definitely. We're well aware of that. We really respect them. When we beat them at our ground earlier in the year, they had a few key players out too. So, we know we're going to have to play well to win. If we don't play well, they'll win. It's simple as that. If we play at our best, well, we think we can win. So the challenge is on us to play well and fight off a side that's in really good form. Out at a ground that's generally tough to play. And, we play on a big ground. I think some of our bigger guys, our inside mids, they're looking forward to get out to a small ground. They're sick of running around our big ground all the time. So
absolutely.
We're looking forward to getting out there.
Yeah, for sure. For what it's worth, I think you guys might get the chocolates, but Hampton, there will be no pushover. That'll be a very, very good game of footy. Doveton Eagles, Keysborough. That's your tip for match of the round. How are you seeing this one pan out?
I don't know. I really don't. I think I'm going to tip Keysy. Just for a bit of payback on last time, but I don't know. I think that's going to be a ripper. Yep.
Yeah, I think Keysy might actually do this quite easily, and there's just something about this game that
why?
When you just get that gut feel. I think that Doveton Eagles haven't really had a settled side for most of the year. They've had a few blokes out through injury, which obviously hasn't helped their cause. And I think Keysy are playing some pretty good footy, and I think they might get this one pretty.
Do you think Robbo will get promoted after no goals in the thirds comp?
Even if he does, he's got to come back through the Magoos.
Yeah, I agree.
So looking forward to seeing Robbo kick a bag of 2 in the reserves tomorrow, on Saturday. East Brighton versus Chelsea Heights. 2 sides, neither of which are in finals contention. All about pride now.
Yeah, well, and relegation. I mean, Chelsea Heights need if they can win that, they'll get that jump on Sky and Heatherton. Sky and Heatherton play each other in 2 weeks, I'm told. So if Chelsea Heights don't pinch a win, they might find themselves right down the bottom.
Yep.
So it is actually a big game for Chelsea Heights. If they can win that, that'll keep them off relegation. But I think East Brighton will win just at home.
I didn't foresee Chelsea Heights finishing around about the position they are at the moment, so they've probably been my big disappointment for this year.
The whole pre-season, I did nothing but talk them up, and they still have got good players. They're just not performing. So, if their good players play well, that they can win. But they're just not putting it together at the moment.
That happens. That's footy. I think East Brighton will be too strong there. It's Sky versus Murrumbina. Big day down there.
Yeah, the 10-year reunion. So hopefully Sky can put up a good fight. Though in the first quarter, they were unreal against us. Their pressure was great. Even to half-time, I think we were 3 goals to 2 or something like that. But after that, and I was speaking to Marto, their coach, after the game, and he said they're just having those patches where instead of kicking 2 goals and they sort of peg it back, it's becoming 6 and 7.
Yep.
Which is an inexperienced team. So, if they can hold Murrumbina to not having those patches where they're kicking 5, 6, 7 in a row, they can push them. They were really good in patches, but consistencies where they're probably letting themselves down. So
yeah, for sure. Murrumbina probably did themselves no favours on the weekend when they kicked 21 behind, but I guess the conditions probably didn't really help. And they've still got a few blokes to come back into the side. So Tom Valenta didn't play. I think he's suspended. Jake Semmel didn't play. Yeah. Al Bradley didn't play either. So there's still some players to come back into that side. The scary prospect if you're coming up against them come finals time.
The question is, though, do they all fit in the points? Because I know that they play probably not with their best lineup on 47 points. So there's going to be someone who's going to be playing 2s. It's a 3-pointer or a 4-pointer that's clearly in their best 22. So that's something they're going to have to manage as well.
And they're going to have some selection headaches too with the blokes that they've brought into the side. Guys like, and we've spoken about it before, Josh Smith, who's now come into the senior side, played some pretty good footy. How can you drop him? Yeah.
And we come across a similar issue as well with, young guys that have come from under 18s or under 19s, and they come in their 3 or 4 pointers.
Yep.
Where, you want to give them opportunity, but because of the points, you probably can't. So it's hard for us. We have no access at all to 1-point players. So we're always up there with points. And, even with our best side in, it's probably not at 47, but when we've got a few injuries and a few of our 3 or 4 pointers come in,
that's where it gets higher.
It goes up, and it's not necessarily our best team.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a problem that a lot of clubs face. Murrumbina for that one, we got a little bit off topic there, Tomo.
Yeah, Bina will win that.
Yep, comfortably, I think. And Heatherton versus Caulfield. I reckon the Bears playing some good footy at the moment, and they got that win on the board last week. And I reckon they, depending on the conditions, I reckon they'll belt Everton.
They're due for a good win, yeah. I reckon they're in good form, so they'll win that easily.
And especially with the news of O'Keefe re-signing, plenty to celebrate there. Righto, that's it for this week, Tomo. It's been a good show. No,
Just
Robbo.
me and you, mate. It has been good without him, yeah.
He'll see this and he'll have some words to say. Make sure you download the GameFace Record app. It's got everything you need to know for community footy. All the live scores now on the GameFace Record app. It's where you can watch this show and plenty more. So make sure you download that. Thanks for your great work, Tomo.
I won't see you next week, but yeah, good luck with the show.
Thanks, mate. Might need it. Tomo, Robbo's probably going to have to come back through the twos, I think. So before he gets back onto this show, of course. That's it for this week. We'll have a great weekend. Enjoy the footy that's on offer, and we'll catch you again next week. Bye for now.